Hello everyone, we are Group 4 Tackling Gender and Politics. We have many things to discuss today, but before we proceed, we must identify what politics is. And next slide po, dun sa may politics na. Ayan. Politics is a social institution. It can be a government or state that is controlled by people who hold the power and authority over the citizens of a country. It is stated here that it is a real world phenomenon, which means it does happen, and a study of governance in higher education. It's been revealed to us that politics is gendered, which is true because even political participation and decision making is identified by our gender. Now we will move on to the meaning and nature of gender and politics. Yeah, next slide. Gender politics is a multifaceted concept in the social sciences. This means that it has many different parts or sides. It can be about women and politics of gender. Dahil sa pag-unlad ng mga theoretical na pag-aaral at mga obserbasyon sa kahalagahan ng gender politics, mas lumago yung kaalaman natin kung gaano ba ka-diverse ang pamamalakad ng isang bansa. Partikular na sa kung pantay lang ba ang bilang ng mga namamahalang lalaki sa mga babae. Tinitingnan din kung paano ba mag-cooperate sa isa't isa ang mga babae at lalaki. Kasi nakikita natin kung may impact ba yung pagkakaiba ng kasarian, identidad at sexualidad sa kung paano ang ikinikilos nila. We already know naman na ang feminism is about having these equal opportunities for men and women, which is why it is important on the study of gender and politics. Yung mga gender scholars ang nagpahiwatig ng katagang personal is political, na ang ibig sabihin ay kaya sila nag-aaral ng gender politics ay dahil sa kanilang sariling karanasan. Mostly sa kanila ay mga babae dahil gusto nilang malaman kung ano ang sitwasyon nila sa politika na karaniwan nga ay mayroong gender inequality. The development of much academic work on gender and politics was shaped by this broader context of feminist, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, which means ang mga kabilang sa LGBTQ community ay nagkaroon ng lakas para maibahagi ang boses nila para rin magkaroon ng pagkakapantay ng karapatan. Now let's proceed to the perspectives of gender and politics to be tackled by Ms. Angelica Espino.
Now, let's tackle about the perspectives. For the first bullet, the gender perspective seeks to understand sex-based differences in power and status by examining how such discrimination affects women's and men's immediate needs as well as long-term interests. Sinasabi lang po dito na ang gender perspective ay isang paraan ng pagtingin sa mundo na nakatuon sa mga magkakaibang paraan na apektado ang mga lalaki at babae sa mga social, political at ekonomikong sistema ng bansa. Ang pananaw po na ito ay naglalayon na maunawaan ang mga paraan kung saan hindi pantay ang lalaki at babae, lalo na sa kapangyarihan at katayuan. In particular po, ang gender perspective ay nakatuon sa paano nakakaapekto ang diskriminasyon batay sa mga kababaihan at paano ito nagbubuo ng kanilang mga karanasan sa lipunan. So by examining these issues po from a gender perspective, we can gain a better understanding of the ways in which gender inequality can be addressed and ultimately eliminated. So for the second one, countries are ensuring equal opportunities for both men and women in giving their contributions that are vital to more sustainable economies, improved national well-being, and sustainable growth. Dito naman po, nangangahulugan po na ang mga lalaki at babae ay dapat magkaroon ng pantay na access sa education, sa healthcare, and other essential services, as well as po doon sa equal opportunities to participate in the economy and decision-making processes. So by promoting gender equality, maaaring magamit ng mga bansa ang buong potensyal ng mga lalaki at babae na maaaring magdulot ng mas inclusive at sustainable na paglago ng ekonomiya. And additionally po, sa gender equality, it can also help to reduce poverty and inequality and improve overall social and economic development. For the third one, equal participation of women and men in politics is an important condition for effective democracy and good governance. Nangangahulugan po ito na ang mga lalaki at babae ay dapat magkaroon ng pantay na mga pagkakataon po na tumakbo para sa mga political office as well as po sa equal representation in political decision-making bodies such as parliaments and local councils. Kapag po kasi pantay na kinikilala ang mga lalaki at babae sa politika, maaring dalhin nila ang iba't ibang pananaw at karanasan na magli-lead po sa more inclusive and effective decision making. And aside from that po, ang pantay na partisipasyon ng mga lalaki at babae sa politika ay makakatulong din sa pagbabawas ng korupsyon at pagpapabuti ng kabuuang accountability at transparency sa sistema ng politika. For the last one, gender is never just about sex but varies by race, ethnicity, nation, class, and a variety of other dimensions of social life. We all know naman po na ang gender is a socially constructed concept that refers to the roles and behaviors that is appropriate for men and women. It is important po to understand that gender is never just about sex. Instead, gender is influenced by a variety of factors including race, ethnicity, nation, class, and other dimensions of social life. And it is also true po na ang babae at lalaki ay mayroong physical differences, but these differences do not fully explain po ang malawak na hanay ng mga karanasan at identity mismo ng isang tao. For example po, the roles, behaviors, and expectations that are considered appropriate for men and women in one society may be quite different from those in another society. In short po, ang gender ay isang komplikado at maraming mukha na konsepto na hindi maaaring ituring lamang sa mga biological na pagkakaiba sa pagitan ng mga lalaki at babae. Overall po, here in perspective in gender and political, it's all about promoting equal participation of women and men in politics, wherein countries can strengthen their democracies and improve the quality of their governance. Next is gender role and differentiation that will be discussed by Risa Mendoza.
Gender roles and differentiation. Gender roles are based on the different expectations that people, groups, and societies have of individuals based on their sex as well as each society's values and views around gender. Gender roles are the result of interactions between people and their settings, and they serve as indicators for people as to what conduct is deemed proper for each sex. Gender roles are defined by a society's belief about sex differences. Gender roles are not driven by the sex of the person. They are gender driven and are a product of the socialization processes and how young people are raised to play different roles in society. In the early study, we were looking at a small number of situations where women were heads of state and found that female leaders were no less use of force prone than their male counterparts. In the latter study, with a much larger experimental sample, it's clear that women in general approach negotiation is in more collaborative ways than do men. Second page po. As of April 2022, only about 23% of current elected officials are women. In the Senate alone, only 7 out of 24 senators are female. The first data shows the statistical view of elected officials for the years 1998 to 2016. The number of elected women has steadily risen in recent years in the Philippines, with a small exception in 2004, when it slightly dipped by 2.6% based on data from the Commission on Elections or COMELEC. In 2016, women made up 21.5% of all elected officials, the highest in the past 7 election years. More women also took courage to run for public office in the 2016 elections compared to the previous years. The percentage of women candidates was the highest then at 19.4%. This post includes all elective positions in both and executive and legislative branches of the government as well as those in local government units. While many Filipino women have broken barriers in different fields globally, it's a different game when it comes to politics. Once women gain um, political rights, it sometimes took them years to exercise their rights to vote or stand for office, as we can see on the data. Filipino women leaders have to fight for their seat at the table in the government. In 2021, the Philippines ranked 17th among 156 countries in the Global Gender Gap Report of the World Economic Forum. The lower the number, the nearer to closing the gap. Among the factors considered is the ranking is political power empowerment, where the Philippines rank only 33. This is because women occupy only 28% of the seats in Congress and about 30% hold ministerial positions. Next page po. There are hypotheses of gender roles of women and men. Number one hypothesis, men will be more likely to be members of a political party than women. As provided earlier, only 23% of women are currently elected as of this year, meaning only 7 out of 24 senators are female. Makikita natin na mas madaming lalaki ang nasa politika kaysa sa babae. Hypothesis number 2, women will be as likely as men to vote in elections. Pwede natin masabi na tama ito, pero even though women are as likely as men to vote in elections, still men are more in power, di po ba? And number 3, women will be more likely to be involved in private types of political activism in comparison to men. Women have less rights, and when it comes to politics, maybe out of 10, there's only 2 women that can be part of it. Of course, they are trying to fight for their rights. That is why women are more involved in political activism. Number 4, men will be more likely to be involved in collective types of action than men. Men and women often think and behave differently due to evolutionary and societal influences, and society dictates that men provide, protect, and work. So, then that's the reason why they are more involved in collective types of action. In hypothesis number 5 to 9, I will not further discuss some of the hypotheses because it's already understandable. But if you have questions about it, feel free po na mag-ask. Thank you. And the next reporter is Miss Richelle, and she will be explain about gender bias.
So, gender bias. In a political environment that can feel overwhelming for many and even hopeless for some, it's worth remembering the power that we each have to combat sexism and bias in our everyday interactions. So, it is important to realize that each of us has the ability to affect differences. In our everyday interactions, we can combat sexism and bias by speaking up and standing up for what is right, and by treating everyone with respect and fairness. We can also encourage women who are active in politics to pursue their goals and aspirations. We can create a more welcoming and equitable political environment where everyone has a chance to succeed by working together and supporting one another. So when it comes to gender bias in politics, be confrontational. You, those around you, and hopefully our political institutions will be better for it. When it comes to gender bias in politics, it is vital to be proactive and confrontational. However, it is also essential to approach these issues with respect and constructiveness. Confronting gender bias in confrontational manner may not always be the most effective approach, and it may escalate the situation and make finding a solution more difficult. Instead, addressing gender bias in a calm and respectful manner, as well as collaborating with others to find solutions and make positive changes, may be more effective. So, one by one, each of the following statements listed was then presented. So, the number one is, general speaking, women don't make as good leaders as men. Women can be also a good leader as men. In fact, studies have shown that companies with more diverse leadership teams, including women, outperform their competitors financially. Women bring a variety of perspectives and experiences to leadership positions that can be beneficial for decision making and problem solving. Furthermore, women frequently demonstrate leadership qualities such as empathy, collaboration, and communication, which can be useful in a variety of business contexts. It is important to evaluate leaders based on their abilities and performance. Many individuals are not ready to elect a woman to higher office. Some people may be unwilling to elect a woman to higher office. But it is important to remember that everyone has their own set of beliefs and opinions. Number three is, women are discriminated against in all areas of life, and politics is no exception. It is true that women face discrimination in many areas of life, including in politics. Women are often lacking in political office and decision-making positions, and they are often paid less than men for performing the same job. Women may also face obstacles to entering politics such as unequal access to education, resources, and networks. Number four is, women's responsibilities to family don't leave time for politics. Women have obligations to their families. This does not mean that they do not have time for politics. Women have been active in politics throughout history and continue to be so today. Many women have successfully balanced their responsibilities to their families with their political involvement. So number five is, general speaking, women are not tough enough for politics. Women in politics can be just as tough and capable as men, and there are various examples of successful female politicians throughout history. Women have been elected to political office at the local, state, and national level, and they have proven themselves to be effective leaders and advocates for their constituents. Number six is, fewer women have the experience required for higher office. Fewer women hold positions of leaderships in many industries, including politics. This make it more difficult for women to gain the necessary experience to run for higher office. So lastly, number seven, women who are active in party politics get held back by men. Some women involved in party politics may face barriers or biases that prevent them from progressing as quickly or as far as their male counterparts. However, this is not a universal truth, and many women have achieved success in party politics and risen to positions of leadership. So the next slide will be speak by Santa Rosa.
So the next is the gender in politics. we can say na meron tayong history ng gender division when it comes to politics. Katulad noon na mga lalaki lang yung allowed na bumoto at mag-participate sa mga public affairs and tumakbo for public offices. Samantala, yung mga babae, kinakailangan pa nila ipaglaban through protest yung right nila na bumoto at magkaroon ng equal right to participate sa mga political activities. So, women's political participation and representation vary dramatically within and between countries. So, sa ibang mga bansa, mas favorable sa kanila na lalaki ang tumatakbo for public offices kasi nga they see men as more dominant compared to women. Kahit dito sa Pilipinas, mabibilang mo lang yung mga politician na babae. Pero madami naman ng mga organizations and projects na inilulunsad para magkaroon tayo ng gender equality. Then, here are some of the reasons for the low participation of women in politics. Unang-una na dyan ang gender stereotypes. So, women are traditionally tasked with handling home duties. Isa sa mga expectations sa kanila ay ang mag-focus lang sa mga gawaing bahay and not to participate with any political activities. Then, isa pa is ina-assume na mas suitable ang mga lalaki na tumakbo for public seats. Fortunately naman ngayon, ini-encourage na ang mga kababaihan na maging parte ng decision making sa isang bansa. Even sa constitution natin, na re-recognize na yung role ng kababaihan sa nation building. Next, competition. So since politics is a highly competitive field, madaming politician ang concerned na kapag women ang nanalo ay baka ma-overthrown sila or di kaya naman dahil mas dominated ng men ang politika when it comes to numbers, overpower nila ang women. Then next is work and family. Alam naman natin na women are responsible for taking care of her family. That's why nagiging balakid din yon sa participation nila sa politika. Then, the lack of political education network and resources. Dahil nga politics is favorable for men, minsan nahihirapan ng mga kababaihan na makahanap ng suporta sa pagtakbo nila. Social conditioning. So, in politics, napakahalaga ng opinyon ng mga tao. And may mga tao pa din na negative yung tingin nila kapag babae yung tumatakbo without checking yung competence and capability nila. So, yung opinion na yon minsan ay influence yung choice nila sa pagtakbo. Lastly, the unfriendly environment of politics. Alam naman natin kung gaano kagulo at kadumi yung mundo ng politika at hamon nito hindi lang para sa mga babae kundi para sa lahat. The gender gap and equality in political knowledge are well established across countries. Kasi nga, mas pinapaboran ang mga lalaki when it comes to governing, especially pagdating sa isang bansa. Kaya minsan nasasapawan ng mga kababaihan na sa mga opportunities na available. Next slide please. The gender situation in the Philippines is characterized by sharp contradictions. It graphically showcases samples of women's advancement in politics, academic, and professional excellence, and even legislation as the conception of women as full-time homemakers, as subordinate to men, as a reserve labor force, and as sexual objects are now being eroded by modern women asserting themselves in many aspects of life. So fortunately dito sa Philippines, open na yung mga tao with having women in political seats. They no longer take as a basis yung gender ng tao, kundi yung capability nila. And also, madami na din tayong legal policy na nagpo-provide ng framework for women empowerment and for gender fairness. Dahil na din sa mga successful advances ng kababaihan, lalo na sa politika, na-acknowledge na yung importance nila in national and local decision making. Then the next topic is the perspective on gender equal politics and governance that will be discussed by Ms. Mendoza.
Thank you. Perspective in gender equal politics and governance. The growing awareness on promoting gender equality made countries ensure to have equal opportunities for both men and women as they have a vital contribution for a more sustainable economy and improved national well-being. Sa pagtagal nga ng panahon ay natuto na tayo na magbigyang halaga yung karapatan at gampanin ng bawat individual base sa kanilang mga kasarian. Kasabay nito, mas tumataas ang kamalayan ng bawat isa na mabigyan ng pantay na pagtingin, opportunity at pagkilala ang lalaki at babae na nagdudulot ng malaking contribution sa maayos na ekonomiya. Responsible politics and governance that make public policies, programs, services, and budgets for concrete benefits for men and women. Sinabi din dito na kailangan ang responsableng pamumuno ng sa politika at dapat na isaalang-alang yung mga programa, serbisyo at benepisyo na binibigay ay dapat natatamo ng lahat. Hindi siya para lang sa mga lalaki at hindi siya para lang sa mga babae, kundi pantay. Pangatlo, equal participation in politics is an important condition for effective democracy and good governance. Ayon nga diyan, sa generation natin ngayon, merong equal participation, pero di may iwasan na ma-discriminate yung kakayahan na meron ang mga babae. Kung mayroong equal participation sa politics, magkukos ito na mas maayos na pamumuno dahil makukonsider yung bawat needs at rights ng babae at lalaki at may iwasan ang hindi pantay na pagtingin sa bawat isa. Pang-apat, the benefits of the participation of women in the political decision making are more equitable societies and inclusive governance, higher standards of living, positive development in education, health and infrastructure, and a decrease in political corruption. Ayon, isa na din sa malaking benefits kung may babae sa politika. Dahil iba mag-isip ang babae at sa lalaki. Kung pagsasamahin natin ang pamumuno ng babae at ng lalaki, lahat ng problema at desisyon na gagawin ay paniguradong maganda at makukonsider lahat ng possible na mali sa paglilid sa politika. Yung last, the International Human Rights Law Framework of 2014 prohibits gender stereotypes and stereotyping which undermine the enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedom. Again, as reiterated, the International Human Rights Law Framework of 2014 prohibits gender stereotypes and stereotyping which undermine the enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Ang atin pong yung government natin may obligasyon sila na alisin yung discrimination sa babae at sa lalaki. Ang obligasyon nila na ito ay nagre-requires na pamahalaan na magbigay ng mga measures or mag-address sa gender stereotypes both in public and in private life as well as to refrain from stereotyping. Next slide po. Gender-based gaps in politics. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development has acknowledged that equality between men and women and opportunities for women's voices and leadership at all levels of decision making are vital contributors to a more prosperous and stable society. When women are presented, they are able to raise issues about reproductive rights, child care, equal pay, parental leave and pension, poverty and delivery services. Even though they hold public offices and are engaging to political processes, there is still gender gap upon them. So ayun nga po. Sinabi ko kanina na kapag may babae sa politika, nabubuksan yung mga problema na hindi na pag-uusapan sa Kongreso o napag-uusapan man ay hindi naman nagagawan ng aksyon at atensyon. And ayon, kahit na may participation o kabilang ang babae sa politika, ay may gap pa rin, hindi dahil sa gender na meron ng mga babae na naglilimit sa kanilang capabilities. Globally, meron lamang 23.5% of national parliamentaries na babae, 6% of head of state, and 6% of head of government. Currently, mayroon lang 6 Commonwealth member state na babae, and napakababa nun. Kaya dun pa lang makikita natin, may gap pa rin talaga kahit na sinasabi natin na kinoconsider natin yung babae at yung rights ng lalaki. Yun lang po. And next po sa about gender-based gaps in the Philippine politics will be tackled by Mrs. Pino.
Okay po, yung gender-based gaps in Philippine politics po ay may three classifications. Number 1 is electoral differentiation, number 2 is equality in political involvement, and number 3 is gender equal legislative representation. So, yung first example po muna yung ating i-discuss. Now, our country has ranked 17 worldwide and third in Asia in terms of political empowerment from the 2015 Global Gender Gap Report of the World Economic Forum. But overall, we ranked 7th at the Global Gender Gap Index as measured in terms of gender equality, political empowerment, health and survival, economic participation, and opportunity. And according to the Commission on Elections or yung COMELEC, there have always been more men than women participating and winning the elections in the past 6 election years, which is from 1998 to 2013. In 1998, there were 17,512 government seats available. Of the 63,531 candidates who ran that year, only 14.3% were women. In 2013, the percentage of women candidates rose to 17.82%. This means over 36,000 men gunned for the seats, while only less than 8,000 women did. So mapapansin natin na mas lamang pa rin talaga ang mga lalaki sa pagtakbo. At talagang sila ang karaniwang nananalo. So bakit? Siguro ay dahil nga sa stereotypical na pag-iisip na mas natural na makakapamahala ang mga lalaki kaysa sa mga babae. Now, the gender divide is seen on national positions and the local level according to the examples mentioned on this slide. Isa na sa batas ng ating bansa na patungkol sa gender equality ay ang Republic Act 9710 o Magna Carta of Women at nais nila na magkaroon ng 50-50 gender balance. And unti-unti naman nila itong nasasakatuparan dahil noong January 2014 ay nasa 42% na ang mga babaeng nasa posisyon. Kabilang sa batas na ating isinasakatuparan ay ang Republic Act 7192 o Development and Nation Building Act kung saan gusto nilang mapanatili na ang mga babae ay mayroong pantay na oportunidad at benepisyo upang maging kabilang sa mga programa at proyekto na nakatuon sa pag-usbong ng kalagayan ng ating bansa. Now, the second part is about equality in political involvement. Sa next slide po, which is from the Philippine Commission on Women or yung PCW from 2009. Next slide po. Ayan. Nais naman ng ating konstitusyon na talagang magkaroon ng fundamental equality ng mga lalaki at babae at mapansin na mahalaga ang mga babae para sa pag-unlad ng bansa. Nakasaad sa Section 11 of the Magna Carta of Women or MCW ang lahat ng iyon. Mas kailangan na makita ng buong sambayanan kung ano nga ba ang benepisyo ng mga babae kung mas marami pa silang pagkakataon na tumakbo at manalo upang may pamalas nila yung talino at kakayahan nila na iba sa kayang gawin ng mga kalalakihan. Pero alam naman natin na mayroon pa ring gap or patlang para masabi kung equal na ba ang posisyon ng babae at lalaki, kagaya sa unang halimbawa kanina. Nakasaad din dito na kahit na nagkaroon ng dalawang babaeng presidente na noon ay parang mahirap ma-predict, ayan, sorry po sa background noise, na dahil mga lalaki lang nga ang parating nananalo, hindi pa rin talaga mawawala ang mga posisyon nila. Ayon sa the Commission on Elections, there is a total of 2,881 women elected in national, provincial, and municipal elected positions, which are only 17% compared to 83% of elected men. And pasensya na po, in the 2007 data, a real difference in the proportion of control. In the recent years, the trend was that women occupy only less than one-third of third-level positions in the government, more than one-third in government-owned and controlled corporations, less than 20% in local government units, and more than one-third the judiciary. Overall, the proportionate share is 1:2 in favor of men holding top posts in the government. We could say that although women do have positions or they are free to be included, it doesn't necessarily mean that they would win the position. The truth is, kaunti pa rin yung bilang ng mga babae sa politika. Parang limitado pa rin at talagang isang malaking puwang na dapat nating maitama. Now, we'll forward to the third example reported by Miss Angelica Espino.
So for the third one, gender equal legislative representation. The 1987 Constitution upholds the fundamental equality before the law of women and men and recognizes the vital role of women in nation building that was written in Article 2, Section 14. It also guaranteed citizens equal access to opportunities for public service that was written in IBID Section 26. So sinasabi po dito na ang 1987 Constitution daw po ng Pilipinas ay ang siyang nagtataguyod ng prinsipyo ng pantay na katarungan sa harap ng batas para sa mga lalaki at babae. Ito po ay nangangahulugan na ang mga lalaki at babae ay may parehong mga karapatan at proteksyon sa ilalim ng batas at hindi dapat maging biktima ng diskriminasyon batay sa kanilang pagkatao. This constitution po also recognizes the important role that women play in nation building and acknowledges their contributions to the social, economic, and political development of the country. Bukod po dito, nagbibigay din po ito ng garantiya na ang constitution po na ito na meron pong pantay na access ang mga mamamayan sa mga pagkakataon para sa serbisyong publiko regardless of their gender. This means po that women should have the same opportunities as men to participate in the political process, run for public office, and service in government positions. Overall po, the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines promotes gender equality and recognizes the valuable contributions of women to the country. So for the second one, furthermore, under the Section 11 of the RA 9710 or Magna Carta of Women mandates the adoption of temporary special measures for the incremental increase of women in third-level positions in the civil service until a 50-50 gender balance is achieved, sets a 40% quota for women in local development councils and planning bodies, and provides for the creation of an incentive system for encouraging political parties to integrate women in their leadership, hierarchy, and electoral nominating processes, among others. That was according to RA 9710, Chapter 4, Section 11. So these provisions naman po, ang pinaka-aim lang po nito is to promote gender equality and increase the participation of women in decision-making roles in the government and other institutions. So for the third bullet, Book 1 of RA 7160 or the Local Government Code of 1991, Section 14, mandates inclusion of a women sectoral representative in local legislative councils. This means po that women's groups or organizations must be represented in these councils, which are responsible for passing laws and regulations at the local level. So sa pamamagitan po ng pagkakaroon ng isang representante ng sektoral na kababaihan sa mga lokal na sangay ng batas, pinapalakas po ng pamahalaan ang kasarian na pantay at tinitiyak na maririnig at isinasama sa proseso ng pagpapasa ng batas ang boses ng mga kababaihan. This can help to ensure that the needs and concerns of women are taken into account when laws and policies are developed at the local level. And for the last one, RA 7941 or the Party List System Act. It includes women in the list of marginalized sectors that may form a political party and V for representation under the party list system. So the party list system po is a mechanism that allows political parties representing marginalized and underrepresented sectors of society to be elected to the Philippine Congress. Dito po sinasabi na by including women in the list, the government recognizes that women are often marginalized and underrepresented in politics and seeks to promote their participation in the political process. Ito po ay makakatulong upang matiyak na naririnig at sinasama sa proseso ng pagpapasa ng batas ang boses at pananaw ng mga kababaihan at sa huli po ay makapagdadala ng mas malawak at kinakatawan na pamamahala sa Pilipinas. Next is gender mainstreaming in the Philippine politics that will be discussed by Ms. Joy Santa Rosa.
So, the first in gender mainstreaming in Philippine politics is the Philippine Initiatives on Gender Responsive Governance. First, to define governance, it is the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. It comprises the mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interests, exercise their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mediate their differences. So simply, ang governance is the act of governing or overseeing the control and direction of a country or an organization. It is the act of exercising authority to manage a country. Then, kapag sinabi naman natin good governance, according to UNDP or the United Nations Development Program, good governance is participatory, transparent, accountable, effective, equitable, promotes the rule of law, addresses priorities, and make decisions based on broad consensus and formulates strategic vision to achieve sustainable human development. While according naman to the Philippine Framework Plan for Women, a good governance must be gender responsive, the one that enhances the abilities of women and men to contribute and benefit from development. So, a good governance daw ay dapat transparent, effective, and above all, it adheres to the rule of the law. Higit pa doon, yung mga actions and decisions na gagawin ay dapat gender responsive kung saan magbe-benefit lahat ng gender. At diyan din nga papasok ang gender equality, na dapat ang pag-exercise ng governance sa isang bansa ay nakikater nito both men and women at hindi napapaboran ng isa at the expense of another. However, ang gender equality is still a work in progress, kaya madaming projects pa din na ini-impose to further promote this kind of issue. Isa na dito itong Republic Act number 9710 or the Magna Carta of Women, wherein it mandates non-discriminatory and pro-gender equality and equity measures to enable women's participation in the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of policies, plans, and programs for national, regional, and local development. So, isa sa mga purpose nitong Magna Carta for Women ay ang ma-recognize ang role ng mga kababaihan when it comes to nation building and to promote equal opportunities and equal access to resources for both women and men. Next slide po. Then, isa din sa mga project or program ng gobyerno to promote gender-responsive governance is itong FPW or the Framework Plan for Women. Itong framework plan for women, it consists of the plans or mga actions na gagawin ng mga government units para ma-identify at ma-assess yung ibang gender issues na kailangan bigyan ng pansin. Pati na din yung mga implementation ng mga actions na iyon into smaller local units. So, here are some of the actions to be undertaken by government agencies to initiate a gender-responsive governance. Pero hindi ko na siya iisa-isahin, pero meron silang actions on mainstreaming gender in development in the bureaucracy, on enhancing women's leadership roles and participation in decision making, on strengthening women's role in promoting gender-responsive governance, and meron din sila for strengthening partnerships with media in covering various women's issue. Then, the next slide will be discussed by Miss Salvador.
So, gender mainstreaming in Philippine politics, Philippine initiatives and gender responsive governance. The Country Gender Assessment, or CGA 2008, noted that Department of Budget and Management (DBM) issued annual budget circulars since 1997 to support the GAD at the local level. Agencies are required to apply a minimum of 5% of funds to GAD. So, nasabi dito na ang Country Gender Assessment or CGA 2008, ang Department of Budget and Management ay naglabas sila ng unang budget circulars mula noong 1997 upang suportahan ang GAD sa lokal na antas. In 2001, the National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women, or now PCW, Department of Interior and Local Government, and DBM issued a joint memorandum circular to all local government units containing guidelines for integrating GAD in the local planning and budgeting system. So, noong 2001, ang National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women, na ngayon ay tinatawag na nilang PCW, ang Department of Interior and Local Government at DBM ay naglabas sila ng memorandum circular sa lahat ng local government units na naglalaman ng mga alituntunin para sa pagsasama ng GAD sa lokal na pagpaplano at pagbabudget. According to CGA 2008, there are positive effects of GAD on improved services and reduction of gender-based violence in men and women. It enumerated less tangible benefits that include increased awareness and advocacy for gender issues and the development of local mechanisms for planning and implementation that increase the involvement of civil society groups in government processes. Also, a notable gain in gender-responsive governance is the audit of GAD funds initiative of the Commission on Audit, or COA, which determines government agencies' compliance with existing laws and regulations on the utilization of GAD funds. Sees to it that agency plans, programs, projects, and activities are aligned to the Philippine Plan for Gender-Responsive Development 1995 to 2025. Monitor the use of GAT funds for the purpose for which they have been appropriated and determines whether gender issues are addressed by GAD interventions in the agencies. So, results of COA audit initiative prompted government agencies at the national and local levels to pursue GAD budgeting in the Philippines in a more proactive manner. So, assessing the outcomes of implementation of GAD plans and budgets, the CGA 2008 pointed out the significance of engaging civil society groups in local government planning and budgeting, where the GAD budget can function as an entry point and tool for negotiation. So, nakikipag-ugnayan ang mga grupo ng ci- civil society sa pagpaplano at pagbabudget ng lokal na pamahalaan kung saan ang budget ng GAT ay maaaring gamitin bilang isang kasangkapan para sa isang negosasyon. Integrating GAD in national and local planning and budgeting guidelines and system. Initiating a gender budget audit by the Commission on Audit. Promoting non-sexist language in government. Generating sex disaggregated data for the formulation of gender-responsive policies and programs. So several challenges still remain in the promotion of gender-responsive governance in the country, such as policy development and implementation, financing and financing capacity, and generation of data on GAD monitoring and implementation, as well as for gender analysis. The CGA 2008 also underscored the vitality of care for national resources and absence of graft and corruption in good and accountable gender responsive governance. So the next slide will be discussed by Espino.
So for the second one, Philippine government commitment to gender equality. The Philippine government continually in response to the recognition and promotion of the rights of women to participate in politics and other decision-making processes are enshrined in international human rights instruments to which the Philippines is a state party. These include the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, and in particular the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. So these instruments po recognize the importance of gender equality and the need for women to have equal access to opportunities for political participation and decision making. So sa pamamagitan po ng pagpapatibay sa mga instrumentong ito, which is yung UDHR, ICCPR, and CEDAW, the Philippines has committed to taking steps to promote gender equality and empower women to participate in political and public life. In reference to the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, adopted at United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995, the country has affirmatively implemented actions for the equal participation of women and men in decision making in order to strengthen democracy and promote its proper functioning. So dito po sinasabi lang na bilang isang estado na parte ng BPEA, nagpakitang loob po ang Pilipinas na magsagawa ng isang hanay ng mga aksyon upang mapalakas ang pantay na pakikilahok ng mga kababaihan at lalaki sa mga proseso at pagpapasya upang mapalakas ang demokrasya at mapalakas ang tamang pagpapatakbo nito. Kabilang po dito ang mga hakbang upang mapalakas ang representasyon ng mga kababaihan sa politika at buhay publiko, pati na rin ang mga pagsisikap upang tanggalin ang diskriminasyon at karahasan laban sa mga kababaihan. So by taking these actions po, the Philippines aims to create a more inclusive and equitable society where women and men have equal opportunities to participate in and influence decision-making processes. With compliance to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we pertain to achieve gender equality that targets women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision making in political, economic, and public life. Sinasabi naman po dito na dapat magkaroon ng mga kababaihan ng mga karapatan at pagkakataon na pantay sa mga lalaki sa pakikilahok sa proseso ng politika, sa pagtakbo po sa pwesto at magtaguyod ng mga posisyon sa liderato sa pamahalaan, negosyo at iba pang sektor ng lipunan. So by achieving this goal po, we can create a more inclusive and equitable society where women and men have equal opportunities to participate in and influence in decision-making processes. This can help po to reduce the inequality and promote sustainable development for all. Next will be discussed by Ms. Annabella Cabases.
As we reach the near end of our discussion, we must know what our country should also be focusing on. It states here that gender and development mainstreaming should not only be the inclusion of women in policy and decision making, but also the encouragement of both men and women to address gender-based gaps and be contributors for the policies and decisions for political equality. We are to make sure that there will be unity in all of us because it will benefit us all. But the one thing that has been a hindrance to us is the political discrimination. Yan yung paniniwala na talagang hindi ganoon kaapektibo ang pamamalakad ng mga babae kaysa sa mga lalaki. Ito ay isang problema na dapat ayusin dahil kailangan magkaroon tayo ng respeto para sa gender ng isa't isa. Kagaya ng nasa huling sentence, which is democracy is not democratic without gender-based respect and equity. Hindi matatawag na demokratiko ang bansa kung mas may pinapanigan o pinaniniwalaan na dapat ang espesipikong tao na ito na nasa espesipikong gender ang dapat mamahala. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening and watching po.